Chapter 1 Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank, and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it.
"And what is the use of a book,"
thought Alice,
"without pictures or conversation?"
Oh, there's nothing to do except lie on the grass and pick daisies. Shall I make a daisy chain for my dear little Dinah? Oh, I don't know. It's so hot.
Oh dear, I'm late. I'm so very late. Oh dear,
A white rabbit.
When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket, and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it.
Alice had never seen a rabbit with a pocket, or a waistcoat, or a pocket watch before. So she ran after the rabbit as fast as she could. And when the rabbit jumped down a large rabbit hole, Alice jumped straight after him.
Ooh! Either this hole is very deep, or I'm falling very slowly. And what a curious rabbit hole! Who would think a rabbit hole would have bookshelves?
The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself, before she found herself falling down a very deep well. First she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well, and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labelled orange marmalade, but to her great disappointment it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody, so managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it.
"Dinah'll miss me very much tonight, I should think."
Dinah was the cat.
"I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea-time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat, and that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder?"
And here Alice began to get rather sleepy, and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way,
"Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats?
and sometimes,
Do bats eat cats?"
for, you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off, and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah, and saying to her very earnestly,
"Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?"
when suddenly thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over.
Ouch! Who's there?
oh, my ears and whiskers. Oh, how late it's getting.
Wait! Please, sir, wait a moment.
The white rabbit ran down a long tunnel. Alice ran after him, but when she reached the end of the tunnel, she found only a long hall with doors all the way round. Alice tried to open the doors, but they were all locked. Then she saw a table with a tiny key on it.
These doors are all too big. There must be a smaller door somewhere. I wonder. Let me take a look behind this little curtain. Oh, a tiny little door. Let me try the key. What a beautiful garden. But how can I visit it? The door is so tiny, I can't even fit my head through. Oh, it's no use. I wish I could fold up like a telescope. Wait a minute. What's this? It certainly wasn't here before. A bottle. I wonder what it is. Let me see the label. Drink me. Oh! What a curious feeling! I'm folding up like a telescope.
And so she was. Alice got smaller and smaller until she was small enough to fit through the door. But she'd forgotten something.
The key!
Alice was too small to reach the key on the table. She tried and tried to climb up the table leg, but it was too slippery. When she had tired herself out with trying, poor little Alice sat down and cried.
It's no use. I can't reach the key, so I can't get into the garden, and that's that. There's no use crying like that. Alice, I advise you to stop this minute. Oh, what's this? A little glass box with cake inside. Oh, and there's a note. Eat me. I wonder if it'll make me grow.
Well, I'll eat it.
said Alice.
And if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. And if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way, I'll get into the garden, and I don't care which happens.
She ate a little bit and said anxiously to herself,
Which way? Which way?
holding her hand on the top of her head to feel which way it was growing, and she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this generally happens when one eats cake, but Alice had got so much into the way of expecting nothing but out-of-the-way things to happen that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work and very soon finished off the cake. Chapter 2. The Pool of Tears.
Alice is having some very curious adventures at the bottom of a rabbit hole. She drank a drink that made her very small indeed, but she wants to grow bigger so that she can reach the key that will unlock the tiny door to a beautiful garden. After eating some cake she found in a little glass box, Alice started to feel something.
Curiouser and curiouser. I'm growing! My feet are so far away. Goodbye, feet! How will I put my shoes and socks on, I wonder?
Alice grew so big that her head hit the ceiling.
Ouch!
It was easy to reach the table now. She picked up the tiny key and rushed to the door. But in her excitement, she forgot something again.
Oh, this is hopeless. I'm much too big for this door now. I'll never get into the garden. I can only look through the door with one eye. Oh!
Alice was over 9 feet tall, and when a girl that big cries, the tears are big too. Alice cried and cried until half the hall was filled with a salty pool of tears. After a time, Alice heard a little pattering of feet in the distance. She dried her eyes to see what was coming.
Oh, I'm late. I'm so very late. I was told to be early, and I'm going to be late. The Duchess will be waiting. Oh, my, oh, my. She will be so very angry with me. Oh, my.
The sight of the White Rabbit, splendidly dressed in his best clothes and carrying a large fan and a pair of white leather gloves, was enough to stop Alice's tears.
If you please, sir.
Oh! Oh, my!
Don't go. I won't hurt. Oh, dear. You've dropped your gloves. But look. What a pretty fan. And crying is such hot work. Oh, that's better. Oh, dear. How strange everything is today. Yesterday things were normal. But today, I'm not sure if I'm the same girl who woke up this morning. But if I'm not the girl who woke up this morning, the question is, who am I?
Alice fanned herself while she talked. She felt much cooler. But after a minute or two, something started happening.
Oh, here's that feeling again.
The something kept happening. Alice kept fanning herself.
I don't believe it. I must be. I am. I'm growing smaller again. Smaller than the table. Hello, feet. It's good to see you again.
Soon, Alice was smaller than ever. She was still shrinking, and she didn't know why.
Oh dear, I'm getting very small. Oh, I'm getting much too small. Oh dear, I shall fade away altogether. Oh, the fan? The fan!
Just in time. Alice threw the fan on the floor so she wouldn't get any smaller.
That was a lucky escape. But now I'm small enough to get into the garden.
Poor Alice. There she stood at the little door, but it was locked again. And there was the little key back in its place, out of reach, on the table.
Oh, not again. This is hopeless. I'll never get that key now. I so badly wanted to see the garden, and things are worse than ever. I've never been so small as this in my life. Never!
Things were as bad as ever, and they were about to get worse. And poor little Alice fell into a pool of her own tears. Luckily, she knew how to swim. But she wasn't the only one who had fallen into the pool.
Chapter 3. A Caucus Race and a Long Tail.
So far, Alice had been very small, then very tall, then very small again, in this strange wonderland she found when she chased a talking rabbit and fell down the rabbit hole. Now she was swimming in a pool of her own tears, wondering what was going to happen next.
Oh, whatever's this? It's a mouse. Hello, mouse. You're a very big mouse. But then, I'm a very, very little girl today. Whatever next? If this mouse talks, I won't be at all surprised. Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I'm very tired of swimming about here. Mouse? Mouse? Perhaps it doesn't understand English. Maybe it's a French mouse. Now, what was that French I learnt in school? Où est ma chatte?
Chat? Cat? Did you say cat?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mouse. I forgot mice don't like cats.
Would you like cats if you were me?
Well, perhaps not. But my cat Dinah is different. She's a sweet, quiet thing. If you meet her, I'm sure you'll like her.
We won't talk about cats anymore, thank you.
Oh, we won't. Do you like dogs? They can be so sweet, and they kill all the rats, and... Oh, dear. Oh, please come back, dear mouse. We won't talk about cats or dogs if you don't like them. Swim with me to the shore.
So Alice and the mouse swam to the edge of the pool of tears, and as they swam, they were joined by lots of other creatures that had fallen into the pool, just like Alice and the mouse. There was a duck,
Quack, quack.
and a dodo,
Funafu.
and many other strange animals that Alice had never seen before. All the creatures had the same question.
How can we get
it's
dry?
all good for my fur.
Salt all over my whiskers now.
We must have a caucus race.
What's a caucus race, Mr. Dodo?
The best way to explain a caucus race is to have a caucus race.
It was the strangest race Alice had ever seen. The dodo marked a circle for the racecourse, and everyone stood anywhere they wanted to. Nobody said, 1, 2, 3, go! But everyone started running. Alice ran too, although she didn't quite know where she should run to. Everyone ran left and right in any direction they pleased. But after half an hour of running, everybody was quite dry again.
The race is over.
Did I win?
Oh, I think I won that. Who is the winner? Did I win? Who is it?
Who's the winner?
Yes, who has won?
Quack,
Who has
quack,
won?
quack, quack.
Everybody has won, and everyone must have prizes, and she must give the prizes.
Me?
Alice didn't have any prizes for a caucus race with her, but she searched in her pockets and found some sweets. She had enough sweets to give exactly 1 sweet to every runner.
Here you are. One for you, and one for you.
That is a tasty sweet.
Eat this. And one for you. Now, does everybody have one? Oh, I must say, my cat Dinah would love a caucus race.
Time for bed. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Oh dear, I said it again. Come back, please. I'm sorry. Poor Dinah. Nobody seems to like her down here. And I'm sure she's the best cat in the world.
Poor Alice felt very lonely and sad. She cried quietly to herself for a while. But in a little while, she heard footsteps in the distance. She looked up to see who it was.
Chapter 4. The White Rabbit's House.
Alice fell down a rabbit hole one day and found herself in a wonderland, where animals talk, curious things happen, and everything she eats and drinks makes her grow bigger or smaller. Now she is sitting alone. Suddenly, she heard footsteps.
The White Rabbit was running towards her. He seemed to be very worried.
Oh dear! Where can I have dropped them? I must find them, or I'm sure the Duchess will chop off my head.
Alice guessed he was looking for the gloves and fan that he had dropped, but she didn't know where they were either. After all her growing and shrinking, Alice was exactly the same size as the rabbit. When the White Rabbit saw Alice, he spoke to her quite angrily.
Mary Ann, what are you doing out here? Run home this minute and get me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quickly!
How surprised he'll be when he finds out I'm not Mary Ann.
Alice began to run, as the White Rabbit had told her, although she didn't quite know where she should run to. But soon a little house appeared with the words W. Rabbit written on the door.
I won't knock on the door. The real Mary Ann might hear me.
Alice crept into the house and went quietly upstairs to a little bedroom. And there she found 2 fans, 3 pairs of gloves and...
Another bottle! I hope it makes me grow bigger again. I'm tired of being such a tiny little thing.
And sure enough, Alice began to grow. Taller and taller she grew until...
Ouch, my head! That's quite tall enough. That's tall enough! Oh!
Alice tried her hardest to stop growing, but it seemed to her like the harder she tried, the taller she grew. Soon, Alice was so big that she filled the whole room. Her head pressed up against the ceiling, Her arm went out of the window, and one of her feet went up the chimney.
What will become of me now?
Outside the house, a crowd started to gather. Alice heard voices.
Oh my, whatever could it be?
Soon, the White Rabbit arrived.
What's that in the window?
It's an arm, sir.
An arm? Well, it's got no business being there. Bill! Bill! Fetch the ladder and take it away.
Bill was the gardener. He brought a ladder and climbed up onto the roof.
I won't have an arm in my bedroom. Down you go, Bill. Down the chimney.
Poor Bill went up the ladder and tried to go down the chimney, but Alice's foot was waiting for him with a big kick.
Ow! Quick, quick, help him up!
Give him some air.
There. That's got rid of him. Now what will they try?
Yes, the cakes! Bring the cakes! We'll need a lot of them. That's right. Now, everybody, throw them through the other window.
What's this? Oh, lots and lots of little cakes. I wonder, if I ate them, would I shrink again? They must do something. And I must get out of this house. I'll try just one of them to start with.
Alice ate one of the little cakes, and soon found herself to be a little smaller. She ate another and another, until at last she was just the right size to run out of the bedroom and out of the house.
Look, there she is.
Get her!
Catch her! Quickly, catch her!
But Alice was too fast for them. She ran far away from the White Rabbit's house, deeper and deeper into the forest, until she became quite lost. She was wondering what she could eat or drink to make her grow to the right size again, when suddenly she saw in front of her a large mushroom, about the same size as herself, with a large blue caterpillar sitting on top of it, smoking a pipe and taking no notice of Alice at all.
Chapter 5. Advice from a Caterpillar. After Alice frightened everyone by growing as big as a house, she ate some little cakes and shrank again. She doesn't like being so tiny, so she's looking for something to make her grow to the right size.
But this is Wonderland, and what she finds, sitting on top of a mushroom, is very curious indeed.
Am I as small as a mushroom? Or is the mushroom as tall as me? Oh!
Sitting on top of the mushroom was a blue caterpillar smoking a hookah pipe.
Who are you?
I'm not sure. I know who I was when I woke up this morning, but I've changed so many times since then.
What do you mean by that? Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, because I'm not myself. It's very confusing. I think you should tell me who you are first.
Why?
Alice couldn't think of any good reason. She decided to leave.
Come back. I have something important to say.
Yes?
Don't be unhappy.
Is that all?
No. So you think you've changed, do you?
I have, sir. I don't stay the same size for more than 10 minutes.
What size do you want to be?
Oh, I don't mind. A little bit bigger is all I would like. 7 centimetres is such a terrible height.
It is a very good height. I myself am exactly 7 centimetres in height.
And with that, the caterpillar crawled off the mushroom and away.
One side of the mushroom will make you grow taller. The other side will make you grow shorter. 7 centimetres indeed.
Let me pull this side. Oh. And now this side. Oh. But which side is which?
There was only one way to find out the answer to that question. Alice took a bite of one piece of the mushroom and shrank so quickly that she hit her chin on her foot.
Ouch!
Quickly, she ate some of the other piece of mushroom and...
Oh! Where have my shoulders gone? And my hands? Where are you, hands?
Alice grew and grew until her neck was as long as a snake. Up and up she grew through the branches and leaves until her head was higher than the trees. Alice found she could move her neck just like a snake, bending this way and that. She was about to use her long neck to push her head down into the trees and look for her shoulders and hands, when suddenly a furious bird flew at her.
Wow! 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 Ow! Snake! Snake! You want my eggs! I know!
Ouch! I'm not a snake. I'm a little girl.
Little girl or snake, it doesn't matter to me. You want my eggs, just the same.
I don't want your eggs. Really, I don't.
Then be off with you. Go away.
The bird settled angrily into its nest. Alice ate a little of one side of the mushroom, then a little of the other, then a little of the first again, until she was a good size. She decided to find her way back to the door to the beautiful garden that she saw when she first arrived in Wonderland. As she walked through the forest, she found a little clearing with a small house in it, not much more than a metre or so high.
I wonder who lives here. This house is so small. Anyone who lives here will surely be afraid of me.
Alice ate a little more of the mushroom and quickly brought herself down to the right size for this little house.
Chapter 6, Pig and Pepper. Alice is in the woods. She's trying to find her way back to the beautiful garden that she saw when she first arrived in Wonderland.
Here she is, outside a little house. She's wondering who lives there.
I wonder who could live in such a little house.
Before she had the chance to wonder for very long, a fish ran out of the woods and knocked on the door. The fish was wearing a footman's uniform. Another footman opened the door. Alice was near enough to hear what the fish said.
From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
The Duchess!
Alice was so curious she went to knock on the door. But there was no use knocking, because it was so noisy inside the house that no one could possibly hear her little knock. Alice was even more curious now, so she opened the door.
Hello?
And she found herself in a noisy, smoky kitchen. A cook was cooking a pan of soup over the fire, and the Duchess was holding a crying baby. There was also a big cat who was sitting above the fire and smiling from ear to ear. Everyone was sneezing except the cook and the cat.
There's too much pepper in that soup. Please would you tell me why your cat grins like that?
It's a Cheshire Cat, and that's why.
I didn't know Cheshire Cats grinned. In fact, I didn't know cats could grin.
You don't know much, and that's a fact.
Just then, the cook took the pan of soup off the fire and started throwing pots and pans and plates and dishes all around the kitchen. Some of them hit the Duchess, but she didn't seem to notice. Some of them hit the baby, who was crying anyway.
Oh, please, the baby, be careful!
Here, you hold it if you like.
And the Duchess threw the baby at Alice, who just managed to catch it.
Oh!
I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
And with that, the Duchess left. Alice held the baby and wondered what to do with it.
What am I going to do with you? You're a strange shape. Oh! You're not a baby. You're a pig.
It was easy to decide what to do with a pig. Alice took it outside and let it go into the woods. The Cheshire Cat sat in a tree and watched her.
Cheshire Cat, could you tell me which way I should go?
A hatter lives over here, and a March hare lives over there. They're both mad.
But I don't want to meet mad people.
We're all mad here. Are you playing croquet with the Queen today?
I'd love to play croquet with the Queen, but she hasn't invited me.
Well, you'll see me there.
The cat disappeared. Alice set off in the direction of the March Hare's house, and soon came to a house. Outside the house she saw a tea party, quite unlike any tea party she had ever seen before.
Chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. Alice is trying to find her way back to the beautiful garden she saw when she first arrived in Wonderland.
On her way, she met the Cheshire Cat in the woods, who told Alice about the March Hare and the Hatter. Alice found the March Hare and the Hatter having a tea party.
Would you like some tea?
Tea, yes, please. And cake.
One cake.
Oh, one cake, two cakes.
Two cakes. Oh, one lump or two of sugar.
Curiouser and curiouser. They're having a tea party. But where are all the guests?
The Hatter and the March Hare were sitting at one end of a very long table, which had empty cups and plates all the way along it. But the only other guest was a mouse, who was sound asleep. Alice decided to join them.
No room here.
I'm sorry.
No room.
There's plenty of room.
Alice sat down. The Hatter opened his eyes very wide.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Oh, good. Riddles. I love riddles.
The March Hare looked at Alice.
You mean you know the answer, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Well, you should say what you mean.
I do. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, isn't it?
But why is a raven like a writing desk? Have you guessed the answer yet?
No, I give up. What's the answer?
I don't know. Do you know?
Oh, I don't know either.
I think you should only ask riddles if you know the answer.
Oh, have some more tea.
I haven't had any tea, have I? So I can't take more.
You mean you can't take less? It's very easy to take more than nothing.
Alice got up and walked off without saying goodbye.
Oh, more tea, Hatter.
Don't mind if I do.
Come on then, let's have a wee cup, shall we?
The Hatter and the March Hare didn't seem to notice her leaving. Alice went back into the woods. She looked back as she walked away. The Hatter and the March Hare were trying to put the mouse into the teapot.
Mosey, Mosey.
In you go. Plop. Oh, he does wiggle, doesn't he?
That's great. Better than sugar, isn't it?
I'll never go there again. That was the stupidest tea party I've ever been to in all my life.
Back in the woods, Alice saw a tree with a door in it.
That's very curious. I wonder what could be behind a door in a tree.
In Wonderland, anything can be behind any door. Alice opened the door, and there she was at the beginning of her adventures again, in the hall with the locked doors and the table with the little key on it.
I remembered that little door. And the key. This time I know what to do. I'm finally going to get into the garden.
Alice had learned a lot about growing and shrinking in Wonderland. She took the key off the table first, and then ate some of the mushroom she had taken from the caterpillar and put in her pocket. Soon she was small enough to unlock the door and go through it.
Oh, it's so pretty here.
We'll leave Alice here for now, happy in the garden at last. Soon she's going to meet the Queen and play croquet.
Chapter 8, Croquet with the Queen. After all her adventures, Alice has finally found the beautiful garden she's been looking for all this time.
It's full of beautiful white roses. Alice wandered through the flowers until she saw a gardener. He was doing something very strange.
Oh no!
Why are you painting the roses red?
The Queen, she wants red roses, and I put white roses in by mistake. If the Queen finds them, she'll cut my head off. Oh no! Here comes the Queen!
The gardener threw himself to the ground and lay with his face down. A line of soldiers and courtiers came marching into the rose garden. They didn't look like people at all. They looked exactly like playing cards. Their bodies were square and flat, with their heads at the top and their hands and feet in the four corners. First came a group of 10 soldiers who were decorated with black clubs. Then came 10 of the Queen's servants who were covered in red diamonds. Then came all the princes and princesses wearing red hearts. The Knave of Hearts was carrying a crown on a cushion. And last of all came the King and Queen of Hearts. When they got to Alice, everybody stopped. The Queen looked at Alice.
Who is this?
I'm Alice, Your Majesty.
Can you play croquet?
Yes?
Come on then. Everyone get to your places.
Am I in the right place? I'm over here.
Here and you are there. I am over here.
Everyone began running in different directions until they got into place and the game began. It was a very curious game. Everything seemed to be alive. The balls were hedgehogs and the croquet mallets were flamingos. All the playing card soldiers bent over so they looked like arches. The players had to catch the flamingos first, which wasn't easy because they kept flying away. When the flamingos were caught, each player held their flamingo tightly under one arm, with the long neck and head hanging down to the ground. Then the hedgehogs curled up into spiky balls, and the players used the flamingos' heads to hit the hedgehogs so that they rolled through the playing card soldier arches.
Oh, jolly good shot!
It must be my turn now.
Very good. Good
Very
shot.
nicely played. Very nicely played. It's your turn
Very
again.
good. Very good.
What a curious game. I suppose I should play.
It was a very curious game. There didn't seem to be any rules. Everyone played at the same time, and the hedgehogs kept running away. Alice took a flamingo and tried to hit a hedgehog with it, but the flamingo moved its head, and she missed. Soon the players began arguing and fighting for the hedgehogs, and the Queen went around stamping her feet and shouting at everyone. "Off with your head!"
I think you'll find that...
Off with her head!
My hedgehog!
My turn!
It isn't your turn. How will I get out of here?
As Alice was looking around for a way to escape, suddenly the Cheshire Cat appeared in the air. He wasn't sitting on anything. He was just floating.
Are you enjoying the croquet?
No, I don't think they play fairly at all. Everyone is arguing and there aren't any rules.
How do you like the Queen?
Not at all. I suppose I should try to play, or she might cut off my head.
Alice went to find her hedgehog. She found it having a fight with another one. While she was trying to pull the two animals apart, her flamingo flew away.
Oh dear, I'm not doing very well at this game. What will the Queen think?
Alice was right to worry. Most of the other players had made the Queen angry for one reason or another, and the soldiers took them away one by one. Soon, there were only the King, the Queen, and Alice left in the game. The Queen turned to Alice.
"You! Come here! Who were you talking to?"
If you please, Your Majesty.
The trial is starting. The trial is starting.
"The trial? Oh, good. I love trials. Come along."
Alice had no choice but to follow the Queen. We'll leave her there for now.
Chapter 9, Who Stole the Tarts? Alice is having lots of adventures in Wonderland. Now, she's in a courtroom full of animals.
Everybody is waiting for the trial to start. The Queen and the King of Hearts have already arrived and are sitting on their thrones. The rest of the room was filled with birds and animals and the whole pack of playing card people. Alice saw the White Rabbit. He was holding a trumpet in one hand and a large piece of paper in the other. The White Rabbit blew the trumpet.
Silence in the court!
The trial started. The King was the judge, and 12 animals were the jury. The King spoke first.
"Read the accusation."
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts, and took them quite away.
Knave of Hearts, what do you say?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Silence! Call the first witness.
Bring in the first witness.
The first witness was the Hatter. He looked very nervous. He came into the court with a cup of tea in one shaking hand and a piece of bread and butter in the other.
Give your evidence, Hatter, and don't be nervous, or you'll lose your head.
The King's words made the Hatter even more frightened. He was so confused that he took a large bite out of his teacup instead of his bread and butter.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
You are a very poor speaker.
Poor Hatter. He didn't used to be mad, you know. He used to be quite normal.
And I used to be taller.
Alice began to have a curious feeling. It was a feeling she remembered.
Oh, I'm growing again!
No one noticed that Alice was getting taller. They were all watching the Hatter, who was too frightened to speak.
You may go. Call the next witness.
The next witness was the cook.
Achoo! Cook, what are tarts made of?
Pepper mostly.
Everybody started sneezing. Nobody seemed to notice Alice growing taller and taller. By the time they stopped sneezing, the cook had disappeared.
Never mind. Call the next witness.
Alice watched as the White Rabbit studied the piece of paper, looking for the name of the next witness. Imagine her surprise when he straightened up, took a deep breath, and shouted the name of the next witness.
Alice!
Everybody in the courtroom turned to look at Alice. Alice felt herself grow a little taller as she took a deep breath and stepped forward.
Chapter 10, Alice's Evidence. Alice has had lots of adventures in Wonderland. Now, she has been called as a witness in the trial of the Knave of Hearts.
The King of Hearts is the judge, but Alice has grown so tall that her head reaches the top of the courthouse, and all the people seem very far away.
How small you all are.
The witness must come to the witness box.
Alice jumped up and knocked over the jury box. It was full of animals and they all fell out.
You're hurt? I'm so sorry.
What do you know about this business?
Nothing at all.
The king looked in his book of rules.
Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high must leave the court.
I'm not a mile high.
Indeed, you are not. You are nearly 2 miles high.
Well, I'm not going and you can't make me.
Alice had grown a little bit more, and the king, who was now the size of Alice's shoe, could see she was right about that part. His face went very pale, and he closed his book of rules.
White Rabbit, ask the jury, what is their decision about this matter? Did the knave steal the Queen's tarts?
But there was more evidence. The White Rabbit gave a letter to the king, who opened it and turned to the Knave of Hearts.
Knave of Hearts? Did you write this?
I didn't write it. Look at the end of it. There's no name written there.
Then you are not an honest man. An honest man always signs his work.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Read the letter!
And the White Rabbit read the letter. No one understood a single word of it.
That's the most important evidence we've heard today.
Yes. Hold on. Well said. I don't believe there's any meaning in it.
If there's no meaning in it, then we don't need to try to find any.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well said.
Jury, what is your decision?
The Queen stamped her feet.
No. Punishment first, decision afterwards.
That's nonsense. The punishment comes last.
Be quiet.
I won't.
Off with her head.
No one moved. Alice realized she had grown to her full size.
Who cares about you? All of you.
Alice looked down at the little people all around her. She suddenly realized.
You're nothing but a pack of cards.
As soon as she said this, the animals, the birds, the king and queen and everyone else turned into a pack of cards, and they all flew up into the air and came flying down upon her. The cards fluttered and flew all around her head and shoulders, and Alice gave a scream as she tried to beat them off with her hands. And then, another strange thing happened to Alice. She found herself back on the riverbank where our story began. She opened her eyes and saw her sister smiling at her.
Wake up, Alice dear. What a long sleep you've had.
Alice's sister gently brushed away some dead leaves that had fallen from the tree and onto her face.
Oh, I've had such a curious dream. There was a white rabbit, and I got bigger and smaller, and I met a caterpillar, and a hatter, and played croquet, and a cat that smiled, and oh, so many things.
Alice told her sister all about the Wonderland in her dream, and the adventures she had had there. Perhaps, one day, Alice will dream herself back to Wonderland